Hello everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening everyone. Am I audible?
Audible, but I request please switch off the mic. Others, please switch off your mic.
So we'll be starting with the prize distribution. So here we are with the prize distribution. Let's start. Believe in yourself and in your dream. Though impossible things may seem someday, somehow you'll get through to the goal you have in view. Good evening, everybody. With these beautiful lines, I, Arushi Jain, on behalf of IEEE MUST Student Branch, welcome you all in the virtual celebration of IEEE Day 2020. While the world benefits from what's new, IEEE focuses on what's next. And that's why the theme for IEEE Day has always been leveraging technology for a better tomorrow. Life is not just a series of calculations and a sum total of statistics. It's about experience, it's about participation, it is something more complex and more interesting than what it is obvious. We had a very inspiring and thrilling event yet to make it marvelous and extremely successful. So, before announcing the results, a big thank you to all the participants and turning up this much. This participation keeps the whole IEEE MUST student branch team motivated to come up with more and more events. Hold on your breath with the fingers crossed. We are here with the results for Tech Write-Up, Social Video, and Ideathon. So I would kindly request Ms. Jeetu ma'am to announce the Tech Write-Up results.
Good evening, everyone. Gathered here to celebrate IEEE Day 2020 on this virtual platform. And I, Dr. Jeetu Sharma, Counselor IEEE MUST, on behalf of SAT, congratulate all the participants and thank to you, my proud student branch members who worked very hard to make this celebration a grand success. Okay, I'm announcing the result of first event tech writer, and the first prize goes to Miss Arushi Dikshit from Modi University. Big clap for her. And she's getting e-certificate and the cash prize of 200 rupees. Yes, congratulate to her. And the second prize goes to Miss Reshma B. And she's getting an 100 rupees cash prize and e-certificate. Congratulate to her. Big clap for her. Thank you. Over to you, Arushi.
Thank you so much, Jeetu ma'am. So I would kindly invite Anshul sir to announce the results of social video. Am I audible, Anshul sir?
Yeah, you are audible.
Yeah, I would kindly request you to announce the results of social video.
Arushi, can you look for one
Can you look for?
once in the comment section?
Yes. Uh, so
So
for the
social video, yeah, you
so for
audible
the
now.
social video, we have Team Mind Coders. Name of the team members are Priyanka Gupta, Ritika Mittal, Sanya Singh, and the prize money is of 200 rupees.
So congratulations, Mind Coders. It's great for the celebration, and it's really great to win the award ceremony for this.
So next up we have Ayushi Rawat, and the prize money is of rupees 100.
Congratulations, Ayushi.
So for the next up we have from IDthon. I would kindly request Rajvi sir to congratulate the IDthon participants.
Of course, I really congratulate, and I think the teams will be announced by the organizers.
Yes, so the first up we have Team ACES for the IDthon, and the prize money is of rupees 400.
So, congratulations to the SS team, and the team members are Arusi, team members.
So the team members are, I guess, Tanisha Goyal and Muskan Gupta and Priyal Maheshwari.
So, the idea was very good. That was for the depression board, I think, and congratulations to the team SS and the organizers. So, let's have the runner-up. If you have selected runner-up.
So the second prize goes to Team Mind Coders, and the prize money is of rupees 300.
So congratulations, team Mind Coders. I think yours was this fashion old clothes collection. Yeah, so it's a good idea, and I hope you can go ahead and implement this, make it successful.
So with this, we come to an end of the result, and congratulations to everyone. If you can believe it, the mind can achieve it. And our winners have proved it and believed it, and themselves have achieved the victory. So, congratulations to all the winners and keep your spirit high. To all those who could not win, always remember past is ours to recover, but future is ours to win. To make this day markable and memorable, our team did the plantation activity in their respective homes and contributed to the future, not only technically but economically as well. So there are these other people who have also contributed their efforts in the plantation activity. You can see here, these are the IEEE members, and these are the other people who have contributed in the plantation activity. Great things in life are never done by one person, so they are done by tons of people. And thank you to all the jury members and participants. Your excitement and participation boosted our confidence and encouraged us for organizing this event and more to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you and bye-bye.
Am I audible?
We'll be beginning.
Thanks a lot, all of you, for
Thank,
participating. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Arishi. Thank you, team.
thank you, everyone. We'll be beginning with the webinar in 2 to 3 minutes. Hello, everyone. We'll be starting shortly for the webinar. Good evening, everyone. I hope you all are doing well. I am Arushi Jain on behalf of IEEE Student Branch of Modi University and Technology. I would like to welcome everyone on today's webinar on how to ace and win a hackathon. We have 3 speakers enlisted for today who would be enlightening us throughout the entire session. If you're wondering what is a hackathon, then a hackathon is usually a day long. It can be 36 hours, 48 hours, etc. Coding competition where software programmers and developers, designers come together to build and design something cool. It is a proving ground for new ideas. Our aim today is to know about them and get tips on how to ace them. Before beginning with the session, I request everyone to put on their doubts regarding hackathons in the chat box, and the questions will be answered at the end of the session. Beginning up with the Mr. Siddharth Sairaj. Siddharth is an artificial intelligence enthusiast, developer, and also passionate about working in projects and solving challenging tasks. He's currently in his 4th year at Vellore University of Technology, Chennai. He has participated in many hackathons and won some too, namely Smart India Hackathon, finalist 2020 and 2019, first place in ACM Hack Day and in SRM Hack Summit. With this, I would like to request Siddharth to share his experience with you. Thank you.
Hey guys, first of all, I thank you for making me a part of this wonderful event. Feels happy to see all these people here. So I'll start out with my topic. Can you guys see my screen?
Not right now.
Is it streaming now? Can you guys see my screen?
We cannot we can hear you, but we cannot see your screen.
Yeah, one second. I think I am sharing in my other stuff. Can you like navigate to other one?
Yes, sure, wait.
Can you guys just confirm if you guys can see something?
We cannot see the screen right now.
Is it?
Yes, it is visible now.
Okay, awesome. Okay, I hope you guys can see this. So today I'm going to talk about how the weird tricks I learned over time, which helped me win more hackathons. So let's start out with the presentation. So for the people who don't know what a hackathon is, the way I like to explain is like if you're having a company and if you're seeking investors, like you're starting a small business and you want some people to invest in your business. So hackathon, you can say it's something like that, but for more tech enthusiasts. You basically make some product and you pitch it to some industry experts, and they get to decide if the product is good or not, based on which you can win some really cool prizes. So this general process of hackathon. The first process is like finding a team. That's the most important process, finding a proper team. And next is finding a problem statement. In some hackathons, you'll be given with a problem statement. In some hackathons, we get to make our own problem statement. So it varies depending on which event you're participating in. And next thing is to find a solution, one of the most unique solution you can find for the problem statement. And next is to build some prototype and pitch it to the expert judges, whoever is uh, taking care of the event. So first of all, so since the topic is Ace the Hackathon, I'll share the experience with my first hackathon with you guys. My first hackathon was back in 2017, 3 years back. It was some ACM hackathon. So at that point, I was like really confused. I don't even know what an hackathon is. So my parents are out of town. I needed some place to stay. So I did like a 36-hour hackathon. I was like, okay, I can just stay. So I just got two of my friends and I went to the event. So this was the rules of the hackathon. It was a 36-hour event. It was an open domain, so we can pick any topic we want. And the panel consists of some industry experts. And there were like around 3 to 4 rounds. The first 3 rounds were like, it made no sense. They just come to your table and they just check how the progress is going. The final round is the most important, where you get to pitch in front of the experts. And of course, we got free snacks and Red Bull in the event. And at the end of the event, out of like 100 teams or something, there'll be 2 winners in the event. That's my first hackathon. So this is what we plan to do. so I'm basically a lazy person. I like kind of push everything to the last minute. So we kind of wanted to make an assistant for blind people. Like since blind people can't see, we thought of using AI technology and computer vision to help blind people find any objects nearby and stuff like that. So these are the 5 stuff which we listed out we wanted to do. Make an Android app which can track users' location using GPS, and create a TensorFlow object detection API which has voice command, and a web backend, and find some way to integrate all the components and present it. So as you can see, this is my first year in doing a hackathon, and at that point of time, I don't even know the full form of HTML. I'll say some random form which doesn't even make sense. But I was very ambitious to think like this. So the result, this was the result, what happened. it was an epic fail. Like at the end of the event, what happened was we wasn't even able to finish 10% of the prototype we thought of presenting to the judges. So I kind of like went to the sponsors and the host and was like, please don't call out my name. I was already so embarrassed, so don't call out my name. So we basically didn't present, but we saw some people who were younger than us present, and one of them got to win the complimentary prize and stuff. So what went wrong with us? Well, everything went wrong. But if I want to list out the stuff which went wrong, but technical standpoint, we are first year, so we are like complete noobs. We had no clue what we are doing, and we just listed out web backend and stuff, but we don't even know what tech stack to use, obviously. And the third point is poor team management. There are 3 people in my team, and all 3 are working at one component at a time. We failed that component. We went to move to the next component. We failed that component, and then we didn't do anything. And the goal was completely unrealistic. Like Microsoft, like kind of make the same product for blind people, and they took months of development, and we tried to make it in 36 hours, and we failed. And obviously, the fear of public embarrassment. We just finished 10%, but we didn't have any guts to show the product because like we knew everyone was better than us, and speaking skills were like complete noob level. Like I'm generally an introvert. I don't like to speak mingle that much, so we are completely noobs. And unclear problem statement. A problem statement is very big. So the stuff which I just listed out can be divided into 2 categories: the technical standpoint and non-technical standpoint. Technical standpoint is like being completely clueless and lacking the skills, basically. And non-technical standpoint is everything else. Everything else is the most important points were non-technical, even though it is a technical event. So first, I like to cover the non-technical skills I'll try to learn after that. The most important skill of all in participating in hackathon is team formation. Team is the most important in any event. So basically, what the team which I have now have adapted over time is my best friends. 2 of my best friends are part of my team. So if your friends is part of your own team, you know what are they good at, what are they bad at. So if I'm taking care of some web backend, someone else can take care of a UI part, and someone else can take care of AI part, and it goes like that. So you need to have a clever understanding of strengths of your team and the weakness in your team, etc. So the next thing is choosing the right problem statement. Okay, this is very important because in most hackathons, like if you take in the case of SIH, they give you the problem statement, so it's no worries. But in some cases, you might the way you choose a problem statement is very important. So suppose if I'm very good at web development, so I can't just randomly choose a problem statement which just has web development. The first most important priority I should give is to the idea. Then I should even be willing to go to an uncomfortable zone to learn any new things that can help me to solve the problem statement. So this is what most people in beginner stage are confused with: idea versus a hobby. So what is the difference? Like suppose I want to make a website like Facebook, for example, where a bunch of friends can come and meet. So is it a business idea or is it a hobby? So there's so many ways it is a very poor idea. The reason is, so any idea which I'm supposed to have, it's supposed to have a commercial value. If I'm pitching another Facebook idea, and what if the investor or what if the judge asks me, well, Facebook already exists, so what are you going to do with this new idea? I just can't say I'm going to get some new customers because Facebook already have 2 billion customers. So I need to have an idea which can succeed if it's implemented into a startup. So people, if an idea has no commercial or business value, it isn't called an idea, it's called a hobby. So you need to choose the problem statement really wisely. Now, we didn't know who will buy our product. So if you're making idea, one point of view is the technical component, one point of view is the audience, for example. So if I'm making a product, I don't know who it's a target audience. So I just can't say the target audience is all customers of all ages. There's no product which targets all customers of all ages. That's something we need to be clear. So even if you take in the case of Paytm, they don't target the older generation. They target more younger generation, and even the advertisements have been targeting to that. So you need to have a proper target audience of whatever idea you're going to make. And next thing, you need to know the difference between B2B and B2C. So B2B full form is business to business. So any services, for example, I can give many services like warehousing in Amazon. They provide the robots and the tools for other businesses. AWS is a perfect example because AWS provides the cloud storage for other businesses. So that's a perfect example of B2B. B2C is a product like just like Facebook, for example. You basically just reach out to the customers. So you know what category your product belongs to. I didn't know any competitors. So you might think like if the other participants in the hackathon, you might think of them as competitors and you should just focus on your own work. But it's also wise to keep an eye on other competitors participating in the same event. You might actually try to learn something from them. So it's very important. And the most important thing what we lacked was time management. The 36 hours wasn't enough to what we made. So we need to have some really the goals which we can make in the time frame. So if you have 36 hours, you need to focus on the main features first and focus on side features. You just can't divert yourself to some features which doesn't consider the product. The presentation skills, it's very important. So you guys have seen this guy, right? Steve Jobs. So Steve Jobs is a perfect example of how a product should be present. So if you see his slides, for example, the 199, like his slides are very abstract. The product the Apple brought out in the previous decade was like very complex. He kept the slides very more abstract as possible. So the reason is some points we need to learn from Steve Jobs is he did not use a PowerPoint. He used something called a keynote, and his presentation had more graphics than words. So images are more sticky. So him and his team would practice the presentation several times before going. So, and he gave demos and working product, then on product which is not made. Suppose if I'm talking about a feature in my final presentation, I'm not even made the feature. So if the guy asks me any question, I won't have any answer. So only present the stuff which you're very confident about. And he never used any buzzwords. So suppose I'm presenting a cloud technology. I just can't say I'm going to do Kubernetes orchestration of AWS cloud. It doesn't make any sense because the people who I'm targeting is the general audience and expert audience. So I need to keep it as simple as possible, as direct as possible. So if I'm making a website, I just can't waste 15 minutes of my time like showing the login page. So even though how cool, how beautiful UI the login page is, it's not worth the time. So because the most important feature is what the people want to see. So start off the most important feature and go for the other feature and add some extra suspense and surprise quality to your script. So this is Steve Jobs' method of presentation. You should check out your videos. And another thing which I like to show is the technical skills. So for the most important, what I consider was non-technical skills, but without any proper technical work or product, your product is basically obsolete. It's not worthful. So if you're having a team, make sure everyone is at least well versed with at least one language. It really helps. So these are many languages you can pick for doing problem statements. So I'll cover each one of these languages like a quick covering. First is JavaScript. So JavaScript is like, okay, it's an amazing language. You can make some amazing mobile apps with it, even the web backend. When it comes to like data science related or machine learning related, that's why we need to have a different language for it to work. Next is C++. So I kind of started my stuff with C++. C++ used to be my favorite language. But then when you realize something when you're coding in C++ is a garbage collection. So if you're having any unused variable, C++ have a very poor memory optimization by itself. So you might find that as an issue while working on projects. And you can't basically make a website, mobile apps in C++. So Java, I don't want to get started with Java because Java is the most versatile, but if you're from 1990s, because when you're given a limited amount of time, you might find Java a big pain to work with. And now coming to my favorite language is Python. So Python is the most versatile language in this decade. So if you want to cover web technologies like Django and Flask, it covers everything. If you want to cover automation, you can do Selenium. And if you want to cover machine learning, you have some really cool libraries like PyTorch, TensorFlow. So Python is my go-to language for anything except for mobile development. Mobile development is what JavaScript shines with React Native. So if you're considering software development, four major categories. One is mobile applications. So mobile application, if you want to make a mobile application, you need to learn JavaScript because you need to learn something called React Native. React Native is the most amazing tool to make mobile applications. Next, obviously, is making websites. So websites can go anything between Python and JavaScript. With JavaScript, you can use some amazing framework called Node.js, and Python you can go with Flask or Django. If you want machine learning, it's nothing other than Python. Python is what dominates in the space. And game and AR, VR, that's also a very interesting field which I recently got into. So the C++, the only category I feel it belongs to is game development using Unity and Unreal Engine, and or augmented and virtual reality. That's where C++ and language like C# shines. So there are even other categories you've not mentioned, like a desktop application. So desktop application can be made using Java and Python also. So now coming to most underrated thing in software development is the UI. Because if you're presenting in front of a huge audience, you can't cover all features at some point. At some point, visual impact is supposed to be the most important thing. So even if you make a decent quality product, so if your UI is very good, you have high chance of winning. So UI is the most important, according to me. Now, this is stuff which you need to know about learning from failure. The first hackathon which I participated, I failed miserably. But I don't know if this happens in other universities, but in my university, VIT, we have something called internships. So I wasn't getting any internships at some point, and basically one hackathon which I lost actually. It's a hackathon from GitHub, which actually came as a runner-up and I lost a hackathon. There's a startup called Gooey, which was very interested in a presentation, so they gave us the internship, and we actually made almost half their platform was made by me and my team. So failure is not any issue. Failure is a place where you can learn. So you should never have ego when you're participating. So you can learn from anyone, even a person who's like way younger than you, older than you. You can learn from anyone. So you need to learn, know about failure, and then your win or loss in a hackathon actually doesn't matter because you spend last 24 hours surrounded by your good friends doing what you like together. So learning a thing or two in a way, and you basically thoroughly enjoy yourself. So I'm thanking the wonderful audience for listening to me. And one more thing I like to cover is basically my team and BIT have coincided to form a YouTube channel to help people learn coding. So if you want to get into coding and if you want to get plays, so this is a go-to place for you. So if you guys like to join the channel, you can just use the QR code to. It's a free community where you can learn coding. So you can scan it if you want. So thank you for watching, and you guys have been a wonderful audience.
Thank you so much, Siddharth. That was literally an enlightening and entertaining presentation. So next up we have with us Mr. Harsha Bhumana. Harsha is an electronic and communication engineer from Velo University. He is a deep learning enthusiast and, like our first speaker, have participated in many hackathons and won them too. He was a runner-up of Women Techies 2020 hackathon. He's also the winner of Honeywell Automation Challenge VHAC 3.0 2019 and second prize in Hello World 2.0 hackathon, to name a few. So now I request Harsha to share his insights with everyone.
All right, hello guys. Hope you can hear me. Thank you for that warm introduction. Just a brief introduction. So I am currently working as a deep learning in the deep learning team of the startup called HyperVouch. I'm primarily an AI engineer, but I also do other things like web dev and electronics, IoT, and all that stuff. So During my 4 years of college in VIT Vellore, I explored a lot of different domains, and finally, I decided to stick with machine learning. And over the last 4 years, I have been a huge hackathon enthusiast. Like I have attended around 15 to 16 hackathons so far, and I have won in around 10 of them. So over the next few minutes, I'll just want to go through the technical aspect of hackathons, how we can actually bring an idea into reality by using tech, because that is also, like that is a very important aspect in hackathons, to actually implement something and to implement it well, to implement it in the correct fashion, to make sure that it's a working product at the end. Right. So when you enter a hackathon, one of the most important things you have to do is to kind of analyze the problem statements, see what kind of tech you can use to solve that problem. And in order to do this, the first thing you need to do is to break it down into the simple requirements of that problem statement. Break it down so that you can kind of understand how you can use tech to solve this problem in a complete fashion. You might have to create a different module for each different part of the entire solution and then connect them all together to form the final solution. So this is the kind of process which you need to follow to in the initial steps of the hackathon, when you're actually deciding what you're going to do, which problem statement you're going to pick, and how you're going to implement that as a solution. So tech, since the beginning of humankind, tech has always been there to solve our problems. That is the ultimate goal of technology. And so one of the things that we as engineers really have to do, really the skill that we need to pick up, is how we can convert an idea into a tangible product, because that is what technology is for, right? We have a problem, we have figured out some sort of solution which we can use, but how do we actually bring that solution into life, and in such a way where we can actually deploy it into the real world. So one thing which I want to emphasize on is, like, during a hackathon, you need to focus on the key features of your product. So there will be certain features which makes your product unique, and which maybe the world or the judges have never seen before, and you need to focus on those. Put most of your energy, put most of your efforts and time into those key features. Do not add unnecessary features. So, like, for example, a login page. There's no point of adding a login page, because every application has a login page. That is not what makes your application different. If you have time at the end, if you finished all your key features, if you have nothing absolutely to add, then I would suggest go for those features like login pages, so that you have a more of a polished product. But honestly, you should focus on what makes your product different, and you know focus most of your time and energy into that. So yeah, so there's something called a proof of concept, or a POC, which basically means, so if you have an idea and you're thinking, okay, so if I use machine learning or IoT, I can solve this problem. And so the first thing which you need to do is to build a POC, which means, all right, so I can prove this concept can work by building a very basic solution. I'll create a very basic machine learning algorithm, or I'll create a very basic Arduino setup with IoT, just to show that my solution can actually solve this problem. Like the most minimal way of proving that your concept works, that's called a POC. So your first step should always be to make a POC, because otherwise the judges or whoever will be there at the hackathon, they won't have any proof, or they won't believe you when you say that your solution works. And in many cases, in hackathons, people don't fully follow up with their final tech product. They don't always um, they have big ideas, they have absolutely insane ideas, but at the end of the day, they don't actually make it work. So the first thing which you must be trying to go for is to build a POC. And this is actually, it's not a hackathon term, it's not even a college term. Even right now where I'm working, this kind of methodology is being used very often. Even in the working environment, we rely on POCs to kind of prove that our idea works. So technology, I believe, is a weapon, and we have to use it wisely in order to actually make a difference, to make a disruptive product which no one has ever seen before. But in order to get to that stage where you can, pick up a problem and say, okay, I can use machine learning here, I can use IoT here, I can build a website with this, I can make an app, and I can make a complete solution. Before you actually reach that stage, you need to cover some preliminary, you need to gain some preliminary knowledge, you need to gain some experience, and I'll tell you exactly how you can do that. So I'm going to go through the different components which you might require in a hackathon for building a product. So when would you need a website or an app? So in 99% of the cases, you would need a website or an app, even if your main technology is not related to web or app. Even if your main technology is related to machine learning or IoT, you would need a website or an app so that the end user, the client, the people who are going to actually use your product actually can use it, because you don't want them to run a script on their laptop, right? You don't want them to run a script on their phone. They need something which they can interact with, and that is only possible if you have a website or an app. And also, this is probably the easiest way to actually build a user interface in for an end user, um, especially web dev. I would say web dev is a little easier. So how in web there's also two concepts, front end and back end. So front end is basically everything which the user is interacting with. When you open Google Chrome, when you enter a website, everything which you see is your front end, which is your web UI, user interface. So basic technologies which you need to learn for this is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And if you've covered these three, if you want to go to more advanced stuff, create more functional web pages, you can go for React, Angular, Vue, and I believe there are a few more coming nowadays, like Nuxt and all that stuff. But this is honestly up to you. You can. This is something which is a personal preference. Whatever you are comfortable with. After you complete the basics, you just Google and you see what are the different pros and cons between these frameworks, and you can decide what you want to do at the end. Yeah, so these are some recommended resources, but you can always just Google these and choose which one is better for you. So for mobile app, again, we have Android and iOS primarily. You don't need to focus on Windows, and you don't need to actually focus on creating both, because at the end of the day, we just want to show minimum product, right, which works. So if it works on your phone, that's good. That's fine. You can just show it on your phone to the judges. If you have an iPhone, then make an iOS app. You don't need to focus on making both. So yeah, for Android, there are a lot of courses online. You can just go for them. And now there's actually a new language called Kotlin, which is actually a much more highly recommended when building Android applications. For iOS also, there's some standard IDEs and languages which you use to develop those applications. What I want to focus on is, in recent days, there has been this concept called cross-platform app development, which refers to using one language which can build an app in both Android and iOS. So these will be React Native, Xamarin, as I've written on the slide, and there's one more which is very new, very upcoming, uh, by Google, which is called Flutter. So if you it is you can also skip Android and iOS and go straight to things like React Native and Flutter. um, Although it's not recommended, but you can. There are many tutorials which teach you React Native and Flutter. And if one advantage is that one code will run on both Android and iOS, and there are a lot of courses for these two. So it's honestly a personal preference. It doesn't matter what you use to implement the product. What matters more is the product at the end of the day. So yeah, then there's also, so I've discussed briefly what front end is. So what backend is basically all the server side logic, all the server logic which is being run um, for the application. So every web page that you open, it is getting that information from a server. And when you enter something into the website, like your login information or some information, that will be communicated to the server, and the server will be implementing all the logic for the application. So this is also, I believe, it's a very, very important aspect, especially from a hackathon perspective, because in hackathons, generally, we have many, many different modules, right? We might have a website, we might have a mobile app, we might have a machine learning part, we might have an IoT component. And in order to connect all of these things, we need a backend, we need a server-side application, uh, which will allow us to connect all these different components, right? And the server side will also have the database. So some of you might have learned a bit of DBMS, so where you use SQL and MongoDB and all these things. So all these three things will be connected: the front end, the server side logic, and the database. And this is how we have a structured project. So yeah, I mean, there are many options for backend. Two of my favorite ones would be Node.js and Flask. I would be a little bit more biased towards Flask because it's Python based, and Python is much more easy compared to JavaScript. And Flask documentation is also pretty good. You can easily learn it. And yeah, electronics is a very niche field. And I believe you would actually need to have a lot of perspective, a lot of experience in order to actually implement electronics in a hackathon. So just Arduino is not going to cut it. You can make a lot of projects with Arduino, but you would need to do some really advanced stuff in order to actually pull off something which no one has ever seen before. But I'll tell you some of the things which I believe is some of the most impactful areas in electronics, and that is IoT, where if you can program a microcontroller like an Arduino to actually communicate via internet to a server, and you can create so many different applications using IoT. So you don't need to stick with Arduino. You can also use things like ESP32 or Raspberry Pi, because these are more easier to interface with the internet. There are ready-made libraries, ready-made packages which allow these boards to communicate with the internet. So if you want to, if you are in this field currently, and if you're done with Arduino, if you're saturated, I would suggest going for ESP32 or Raspberry Pi or some other boards. ESP32 is also good for Bluetooth, and I've also implemented some Bluetooth solutions in hackathons before. Um, so those are actually some very interesting fields. You should definitely check them out if you're interested in this. And it's something which many people don't actually look into, like stuff like BLE, IoT. Very niche fields. They would require some effort to get into, but if you do get into them, you can make some absolutely insane stuff. Yeah. So core hardware, I would recommend Arduino, Node MC, or Raspberry Pi. These are probably the easiest. And for IoT platforms, you can either make your own server using Node.js or Flask, or you can use some pre-existing platforms like things BigBlink or Firebase. It's honestly up to you. If you are comfortable enough with the backend language, you can definitely make your own. It's probably more worth it. Coming to machine learning. So again, machine learning is also a very niche field in hackathons. And I personally did not start using ML uh, till maybe my third year or my fourth year in hackathons, because knowing machine learning is one thing, but actually being able to apply it to a product within 24 or 48 hours is a completely different thing. You would need a lot of experience, you would need a lot of exposure, you need a lot of perspective in order to know exactly when, exactly how you can use machine learning to solve a problem. But if you do have that perspective, if you've done all the courses, you've done a lot of projects, you can easily use it whenever you will require your product to do some intelligent stuff. Like if you see some place in your product which a human is doing right now, but if you want to replace that human with a machine, then that's where you use machine learning. And one of the most biggest bottlenecks of using machine learning is data, right? We don't always have data. So you can sometimes Google it, you can sometimes find it, but yeah, sometimes you don't always get the data for solving the problem at hand. But one of the things which I've recently gone into is it's a concept called synthetic data generation, where you make your own data using programs. So if you're someone who is really advanced, someone who's has a lot of knowledge in machine learning, you can solve pretty much any problem. You can make your own data and solve it. But that's some very advanced stuff. If you're still in the basics, then I would suggest to just go through these basic stuff like scikit-learn, pandas, numpy, and tensorflow. Start getting your own perspective, building your own exposure to this technology, so that you can get to the level where you can actually implement this in a hackathon. Yeah. So I've covered the technical implementation part. Business model and pitching, I believe Sid has covered in the previous session, so I won't be going through that. But yeah, that's what I have to say about the technical part of hackathons. In order to actually build something, um, you know, which building a tangible product at the end of the day, you can't go into a hackathon with absolutely zero knowledge unless you're just there to learn. So I would recommend building a versatile team which covers multiple domains. You can have one web developer who's going to make the front end, and one back end developer. If you're deciding to go for some niche products, maybe an IoT guy or a machine learning person. So build a versatile team which covers multiple domains with overlaps as well, so that you can build a complete product at the end of the day. Most of the hacks where I've been to, a lot of the teams don't finish their product. But if you finish your product, if it works the way you are intending it to work, that brings a huge impact to your hack, and it will actually make you win in certain cases. So before I leave, I would just like to so even I am actually from IEEE. I was from IEEE VIT, and we are actually conducting this event where you can learn more about the technologies which I have mentioned in this PPT: machine learning, AI, web development, and all this stuff. So this is actually happening this weekend. So if you are interested, you can just check out this website and register for it. It's called OpenCon, and we have many speakers from many different companies and organizations. And yeah, that's about it. If there are any doubts, I would be happy to take them. Uh, but yeah, with that, I would conclude my session.
Thank you so much, Harsha. This was really something that our audience needed. Thank you so much for telling us about IoTs and Arduino too.
Sure, no issues.
So, last but not the least, we have among us Mr. Rakshit Satija. Rakshit is a software engineer at Maharaja Surajmal Institute of Technology, Delhi. He is the vice chair at IEEE student branch of MSIT. He is the winner of Smart India Hackathon 2020. Smart India Hackathon is a nationwide initiative and a world's biggest open platform for the innovators of tomorrow to start today towards a smart India. So here we have Rakshit to tell us more about SIH and share his expertise here.
Thank you so much, Arushi, for a warm welcome. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'll go ahead with the presentation. So a lot has already been spoken about hackathons and the technologies we are using to win the hackathons. So I will be taking this opportunity to speak more about Smart India Hackathon and being more precise to that. So in my introduction, as it has been already mentioned, so I was the winner of Smart India Hackathon 2020 in the software edition. And previously I've been working with a scientific research company, Bod Scientific, where I was working as electronics and control and project management research engineer. So just a correction in the introduction, I have been more towards IoT and embedded systems, rather not being into software much. So I've been a IoT and embedded and automation product developer, and I would like to introduce myself as an inventor. So I've been working on various products in my some have been implemented at our college, and some I have implemented as my own projects. So talking about my IEEE experience, so I've been working with IEEE Temps India, therein being the initiative coordinator, and also working with the Delhi section team being the network coordinator, and my student branch MSIT being the vice chair. And so this is my introduction. Moving towards Smart India Hackathon and the amazing part of Smart India Hackathon. So the most unique thing about SIH is the opportunity to develop well-researched products since we have been discussing more about product development, wherein we connect product development to hackathons. So the initiative was started in 2017 when the organization MHRD actually decided to bring the industries and the students on one platform. So what they observed was we have a lot of real life problems faced by the industries, and students have this young minds and the passion to work on the technologies and solve the problems. So then they decided to have a platform that was named as Smart India Hackathon, wherein we have our Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who inaugurates the finale of every year. And so the problem statements and the themes are actually presented by the industry, and therein students have the opportunity to develop industry level MVPs. MVP is the minimum viable product. Okay, so it is more than a prototype, but less than a product. Something which can help you with the proof of concept as well as the proof of engineering. So that is the bigger opportunity you get, and as it's been mentioned already, it's the world's biggest open innovation model. Then there are these some of these numbers related to SIH so far. So we have seen more than 10 lakh students being participated, and these are the numbers till 2019. So in 2020 we had around 6 lakh to 7 lakh plus students alone in this edition. So that was really huge success of SIH. So since this is not a not just a 36-hour or a 48-hour event, this is a bit more than that. We have a slight bigger process in the Smart India Hackathon. So I'll guide you through the roadmap of how SIH goes. So initially, there are these problem statements that are released by the organizing committee. And these problem statements are previously have been collected by the organizations. These could be private as well as public organizations. We have some great names. So I was working for the Central Warehousing Corporation. That's the CWC. And this organization handles all the warehousing of agricultural as well as other produce. So there are more than 450 commodities that this organization is looking into. And then you have agencies like FCI, government of Bihar was there, airport authority was there. So there are more than 250 plus organizations who give their problem statements. Then it is for the students to make a team of 6 members, wherein we need to have at least 1 female member, and the more number of female members, it's the higher priority that is given to the team. So that's where they are trying to promote women participation in SIH. So then it is up to the teams to shortlist their problem statements. So this year there were around 450 plus problem statements, and we had to go through that. I will be discussing more about it, how to choose out of such a huge list, and that is really an art. And then they asked from this year, they started this internal hackathon wherein they wanted the top 5 to 7 teams from every institute or university to go ahead in the next round. So that's where every institute was expected to have an internal hackathon. And then these shortlisted, these teams that were shortlisted in the internal hackathon, they had to submit an ideation PPT. And ideation PPT is basically a 3 to 4 slide PPT wherein you have to present what is the problem you're working on and what is the solution you're going to develop. So that is quite a challenge, wherein mentioning your solution out of the whole list of features or the set of ideas you have, you just have one slide to mention all your ideas, your pictures of the prototype. So that's what you have to present in the ideation PPT. It is also advised for you to write about the USPs of the product, the market size, or at least giving an idea of how huge the problem is. And then based on the idea PPT, top 5 teams are shortlisted in every of these categories. So these top 5 teams have the opportunity to go ahead for the finale, which is conducted over 36 hours for the software edition and 48 hours for the hardware edition. In the hardware edition, there is an added step, that is wherein they are required to submit a video around your hardware project or your product. So that video has to should be able to tell about the concept what you are working on, and it should give a clear picture on what kind of a solution you have for the system. So these are my hacks to success, and I think most of the points were mentioned by my other panelists. So even I will be talking about these things in detail. So the first thing is ideate. And in ideate part, in SIH, we have these problem statements already, so we don't have to work more onto finding the problem areas and then finding great ideas. So idea is basically the problem, the most efficient solution you get to a problem. So to have a good idea, you need to have a good problem to solve. So that is what I usually take it as ideation. So that is wherein we have to shortlist the right problem statement. Then it goes on to the collaboration part, wherein you have to form a team. And even this was mentioned by Siddharth, and trust me, forming a team and having a very good team is I think half of the work done, because it is not an individual who leads to success, but the collaboration that you do or the team that you make up, that will eventually help you to win the competition. Then moving on to the leadership abilities. So usually there is only one leader in the team, but how I want to take it as never have only one leader. Make a team wherein you see every member as a leader, because at some point of the time that person might have to take up the responsibility to take their own decisions. So having a team of great leaders help you to have better coordination and to not be the only individual who's being stressed out in the competition. And then moving on to the product development technique. So this technique is something that I have been working on. The technique has been is being used in industries, and the technique actually helps us to build better solutions. So design thinking, brainstorming, these are some of the techniques which are part of our product development techniques. So using these techniques, implementing it to our ideas, help us to build the most efficient and the most advanced solution. And that's what these competitions are looking for, because at the end, you need to have the best solution, the best idea. And then it is up to the presentation. So great products have failed due to lack of presentation and the right marketing technique. So presentation is basically, while working on the product, while working on the problem statement, we all have so much information, have so many things to put out to others, to actually put out in the presentations. But it is always advised to have more of visuals, have less of words, and present your ideas in the shortest method possible. Yeah, talking about how to choose the right problem statement. So while we were working out to shortlist a problem statement out of 450 plus problem statements that were given, what we did was each member of the team was asked to shortlist their top 10 problem statements which they feel are pretty interesting for them. So that's where I, as a leader, got to understand what are the areas of interest of my team members, and got to know wherein they are interested to work on. Plus, we had these top 10 statements from every member. So we just shortlisted the top 50 or top 60. That went up to around 30 plus statements. So out of the pool of 450, we came up to 30 statements wherein we went into detail. And then it was the second step we took was, now I have to look onto the list of all the problem statements my members have chosen, and the other members will look into the problem statements that I and other members, other than that specific participant, other than that member, he has to look on to the other problem statements and shortlist the best out of those. So that's where you can, out of the pool of all these problem statements, you get to understand which ones could be those good problem statements. Then the second thing you have to understand is look onto the strengths and the skill set of your team members and accordingly shortlist a problem statement. So in our team of 6 members, we had people, so I was working into electronics, we had people from data science, from app development, from web development, and then there was a person who could work on the research part. So that's where we tried to have a more diverse team, and we knew that we have all these skill sets. So we moved on to a problem statement which had all these technologies involved. So at the end, we decided to work on IoT-based project wherein cloud computing, hardware, our app, our machine learning model, and our website, everything what was utilized to form one product. So that's what anyone who's having this problem can take up this technique. Collaborate, team formation. So as I have already told, diversity is the key. You should have members from different domains of technology, and not just technology. We should have people who are good into presentation as well. So that's what make you a complete team who can lead to the success of the event. So no leaders means better team, and that's for the matter wherein if there is a leader and there is more of a vertical hierarchy in the team, that's where that one person is responsible for taking most of the decisions. So that is usually avoided, and it is preferred that you maintain a horizontal hierarchy and every member of your team has the responsibilities at their end and they make their own decisions. So about team formation, I think Siddharth has covered most of the things, so I'll not go much into the details. Coming on to the product development technique, and this is what I believe is the most important part of not just hackathons, but if you are someone who's interested into product development and taking up these positions of being a PM or a product manager at companies. So this is the technique which is usually focused on. So being students and being engineers, the most important thing that we have been neglecting is the research part. Initially, we start with uncovering the opportunities. That just means on ideating, on finding different problem statements, finding out the areas where we have a bigger problem which is impacting the society. So that's where uncovering opportunities comes into picture. So once you have shortlist the problem which you want to work on, now you have that concept and the idea related to that. So initially you research a bit. So research includes your market research initially, because you have to figure out the impact of this problem. How many people, for example, just for an example, I just see that the public transport is not the buses in the public transport are not being effectively used, especially in the post-COVID scenarios. So this is a problem which I can come up with numbers. For example, every day I can come up with a number like every day around 1 lakh people are taking up this transport facility, and then I can have a survey what problems are they actually facing, and then I can interview them, I can talk to them personally, I can empathize with their problem, and then after that research, I might have a list of all those problems. So then it is up to the technology that I have to utilize and to solve the problem. So that's where your concept testing, evaluate and refine, these processes come into the picture. Then it is the concept testing comes up for your technical research. Once you have done your problem statement research, now you might have a solution, or you might want to utilize the technologies like IoT or app. Suppose you want to implement an app in that particular sector. So you need to actually understand what are the best tools that you can use, and work more on the technical concept of your problem statement. And then it is up to you to create those prototypes rather than going directly with that app development. So that's the problem, or that's the thing which we as students usually don't consider, is the steps in is the second, third, fourth, and fifth step. We directly move on to creating prototypes from discovering the ideas. So that is where you tend to lose out the opportunity. Once you have worked on these steps, worked on the process, while you reach out to the sixth stage, wherein you have to create the prototype, the prototype gets much easier to develop, and you know what problems to focus on. You don't overpopulate your ideas. You don't focus more on the login part, as it was discussed. You focus more on the unique part of your solution. And then it is the final part is to test. A lot of errors or a lot of improvements come up from testing. That's where we have these companies introducing their beta versions, their alpha versions, because they have to test the actual viability of their product. So that's where in these hackathons as well, before going to the presentation, especially in Smart India Hackathon, because we are given this much time to work on our problem statement and research about it. So that's where testing plays an important role, from being the top team in the pool of top 5 teams that you have to compete with. And then it is your launch. Launch could also be taken as the presentation that you have at the finale of SIH, wherein you have to present. So in the final, we have to. There were 3 rounds of presentations. The first round was on the first day, wherein in the evening we had, in the morning we had our mentoring session, and the evening we had our evaluation session. So they have these 3 evaluation sessions, wherein the agenda of the evaluation is different in all the 3 sessions. The first one was more on the idea which you are developing. On the second day, they were focusing more on the technology and how you have developed that. And what have you used the right technology? Are you aware of the technology? And the third day was more about the business model of our project or the product. So presentations has also been covered to some extent. So talking about presentation, I would suggest even in hackathons, you can always have a 1 minute of video, wherein you can highlight the problem that you're working on. You can club some of the videos related to that problem and just compile a 1 minute video. That gives a better clarity to your judges at the time of presentation, and then you can go ahead with your PPT and whatever it is. So coming on to my experiences with SIH and other hackathons. The most important part, the most important learning for me in SIH was going through this whole phase of product development, which I have introduced to you. So we started from January 2020. That was the time when we were given the problem statements, and from then we moved on to working on the research, understanding the organization we are working from. Though the problem statements are well-researched problem statements, and those are those are the exact problems that the people who are working in these organizations are facing. But it is up to you to understand the organization. And so what I observed in the finale was why our team had the upper hand out of the other 4 teams that were in the competition in our category. So we were even complimented for this part, that we had done a good amount of research on the problem that we were working on. We had a good understanding of the Central Warehousing Corporation, and we did research about most of the things, even finding the data related to the agricultural crops, or the data wherein we were implementing our machine learning model. It was difficult for us to find the data and get the real data out of it. So what we did was we did a field survey. So we went on to these warehouses in Delhi, and we took the real-time data over there using our device. And that's where that was an edge that we had in the competition. We had a better understanding. So the questions that were put on to us in the evaluation part, we had already covered those in our solution, because we did understand the problem. We did went over there and had a brief interview with the warehouse manager. So that's what helps you to have an edge over the other teams. So that was the greatest experience that I had. And with other hackathons as well, what you'll see is those 36 hours or those 48 hours are the highest potential hours. You work onto so many new technologies. You solve so many problems that come impromptu during those hours. And one of the problems that we faced this time was, since this year it went virtual, the hackathon was organized online. So the problem what we faced was even our team members were at our own place, and from there we had to present our solution. That was the issue, wherein having that coordination with other team members was not quite possible. So on the 3rd day, we decided to come up to one place, and from there present our solution to the evaluators. So these are some impromptu problems that come up, and you have to take really quick decisions onto it. So that's what the hackathons are all about. Now coming to the perks of winning Smart India Hackathon and other hackathons as well. You get the visibility, you get the recognition from various organizations, from MHRD, AICT, Persistent Systems, and the Innovation Cell of our country. These were the organizers of SIH this year. From SIH winners, we get a direct entry to the national hackathons that are conducted. And there is national support for young entrepreneurs, because the products which we work on, by the time we come to the finale stage and we have presented our solution, the evaluation process is done, you will observe that you have developed an MVP of that problem statement. And since that is a problem the industry is facing, and they are in demand of a solution, so that's where you can work a bit more onto it and come up with your own startups. And that's what I'm also doing currently. So we have mentors at so we have mentors with us from national level, plus we get an opportunity to mentor at other national level events. So that is also the experience that you get while mentoring is something while solving other people, while solving the problems which others might face, helps you to learn. So that's where mentoring comes into the picture. And not to forget the exciting prizes we have, and especially the Smart India Hackathon, wherein we get a prize money of 1 lakh. So that is, these are some of the perks. There are a lot which I have not even included, and which you can only experience while you win these hackathons, you participate in it. And it's not just about winning, it's also about being the part of the process. So these are this is just a glimpse of the organizations which were involved in SIH. So that's where you get to understand the level of this event. So that's it from my side. And to connect with me, you can go to my LinkedIn as well as my Instagram. Also, you can log on to rakshitsatija.tech. That's where you can see my digital portfolio. You can scan the QR. And thank you so much. And thank you for being a patient audience. And that's it from my side.
Thank you, Rakshit, for covering yet another important part of the session. So next up, we have received quite many questions. So we'll be now taking the questions put up by the viewers. I kindly request all our speakers to come on the virtual platform. You're already there. So first up, we have a question from Hina Thadani. Most of the hackathons have. How do we start with the first hackathon?
Okay, so should I go ahead with the answer?
Sure.
Okay, so landing on your first hackathon, I remember when I was in second year, in my third semester, that was the first time I had my first hackathon. And I seriously had no idea about what a hackathon is. So what I would recommend is just have a team and go participate. That is the only thing that the courage that you need to have. For the idea on what you need to develop, you can always search on the web. There are tons of ideas and tons of uh, these projects available. You can just pick one and add your solutions, add your choose the problem, and then ideate it, add your solutions onto it, and just go there. The presentation is what you can take up, even if you're not well aware of the technology.
Thank you, sir. So next up question we have from Shalini Agarwal. Most of the hackathons have 2 to 3 days duration. So how one should work on the project? Like, are there any specific tips?
So in this case, so they give you 2 to 3 days so that you can fully uh, plan a complete product. And I've said before, you have to focus on the key features, right? So focus on the features which um, put your solution apart from all the other existing solutions out there. So plan it in such a way where you can implement these these specific modules which give your product unique advantage. Aim to complete those first, and as I said, aim to complete the POC, and make sure everyone in your team knows exactly what is the unique part of your product, so that if any judge is coming or even in the final pitch, everyone is well aligned with the final solution. So yeah, that's what I would have to say.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have a question from Extra Tasks. You talked about UI UX design. Can we make a complete website by UI UX and add database externally? And if yes, can you please tell me how?
Okay, I'd like to answer this. Okay, so UI can be made in many ways. If you're talking about a website, if you want to get started with UI, the basic stuff is CSS, obviously CSS and Bootstrap. So if you want to go on a bigger level, you can try to learn stuff like React and stuff. And the question about the database. So database, there are two things which you have to know. One database like normal relational database, like SQL, MySQL and stuff. So those kinds of database, just rows and columns. So you can even have it locally, or you can even use some online service providers. Now, she also mentioned database from like remote stuff. So I think she probably also means something like a MongoDB. So a MongoDB, it's like an online database. So you create an account online and you have all the database online, and you can just have to send a connection request, and you can just log into your credentials from your source code, and you can connect database and your whatever you are using some framework.
Thank you so much, Siddharth. Next up, we have a question from Muskan Gupta. After giving ideations for any hackathon, do we need to prepare the whole project or only frameworks or some modules for the next rounds?
Okay, so I would like to take that question. Uh, so it depends on the time that you are given in the hackathon. If it is just a 36-hour or a 24-hour hackathon wherein you have to work out for the solution, try developing the frameworks first so that you can have that POC at least with you, and rather than going up with the whole product or an MVP wherein you think you want even the login screen, login panel, or all those parts of which are not focused on. You can eliminate those parts of your product or your project. So that depends on the time you're given. In SIH, if I would count that, uh, in SIH, it is expected that you develop the whole product. At least you should have a prototype wherein you can even prove the engineering. So POE is the proof of engineering, wherein you connect all these technologies together and come up with a solution.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have a question from Arushi Jain. Uh, how prepared one should be to host a hackathon? Is there any age a person is allowed to host it?
So I have hosted a couple of hackathons before in VIT, and that too was a part of my IEEE chapter. Um, so I mean, it's definitely better if you do it as a part of an organization, as part of a student organization. So you have multiple people working in the multiple different parts of a hackathon, and also I feel that a few of you should actually have attended quite a few hackathons before, so you actually kind of get the flow of the event. Um, so yeah, I mean, if you attend a few hackathons, you understand how the process is, and then you have a lot of. It depends, like it depends on your sponsors. It depends on what kind of problem statements you want. Depends on the final outcome which you want from the hackathon as well. So if you have all these things, if you have the answers to all these questions, then and if you've been to a few hackathons before, it shouldn't be that hard to do.
Thank you, sir. Next up, we have a question from Divyata Gehlot. How to resolve on the spot errors? Like, what if we encounter an error on the spot?
Okay, so what I would suggest is like if you're having like 24 hours to do a solution, try to finish it as quick as possible. Quick as in like within 20 hours, if you manage to finish a solution, you can keep running your test cases, keep running your test to see if it works on all edge cases. So don't push all the modules to the last moment. So if you barely have 1 hour left, don't try to start a new module. Try to make sure all the modules you have now works perfectly. And if you're having any spot errors, okay, like what if you encounter errors spot? Okay, just try to fix it. So that's what I'd say. Like,
I think the other two would agree with me when I say this is something which everyone goes through. Every single developer in the world would have gone through errors at the most inconvenient of times.
yeah.
But I believe this is something which you have to experience as a part of the process. And if you have more experience in, especially if you're a web developer and you get some errors, the more experience you have, the more projects which you have done, the easier it gets for you to resolve these errors. And I believe that Googling is an art, especially in these cases. Figuring out exactly what to Google in a particular scenario. That is a skill which is extremely underrated. You have to learn it as a developer, regardless of what you're doing, machine learning, web dev, app dev. Learn how to Google your errors properly, and that's like 80% of the problem.
Exactly, and I would like to add on to that, so that's what we faced on the last day of our presentation. We had some last minute failures that just occurred in the hardware part as well as in the software part. So we tried to fix as many errors as possible, and first we tried to focus on the those errors which are which have the base of your project, wherein if the base of the project fails, your project fails. So you have to look into that, what errors are those errors. For example, there is a error on the UI side wherein your box is not accurate as you expected it to be there. So therein you won't focus much onto that, rather than connecting your hardware and your app together. If there is a failure on that part wherein you're not able to have a stable backend between your hardware system and your mobile app, that's something you have to solve first. So that's how you do the failure analysis. You prioritize the errors. Being calm at those situations always help you, because and that's what these leadership skills teach you, to be calm and to analyze the error. And obviously googling is an art, so you can always find the solution out there on the web, but how to find the solution, that's what you have to learn.
Thank you, Rakshita. Next up, we have a question from Yashika Goel. Can you all share some of the problem statements you chose?
Okay. uh,
So
sure.
I'll just go ahead. I'll share one of the most interesting ones which I've done. So this was actually a problem statement in one of the hackathons in VIT, where I had to develop a solution which helps people with autism or dyslexia. So we essentially made a solution which, after doing voice to text, it will convert the text into image sequence by extracting keywords and doing a reverse image search and getting those images. So basically, if you have a sentence, it will give you a visual sequence of that sentence, so that it's easier for dyslexic people to understand what their sentence means, because it has visual cues. So this was a very basic solution. There was one machine learning aspect which was there was already a pre-existing function for that, and just a Google image search for getting the images. So building the POC was pretty easy. But yeah, this is some ways where it was a very simple to build, but the innovation factor was what made us win this hackathon.
I would like to share one thing. So one of the problem statement was like a yoga assistant using virtual reality, what we had. So every other team made a normal VR yoga, so person can have the VR headset, they can see a environment, they can practice yoga, something like that. So we took it one step further. We used something called PostNet. So using PostNet, it can identify how accurate you're doing to some yoga poses, and can help you correct your yoga poses. So if you're doing some planks or something, if you're just 90% accurate, it finds out how accurate you are and tries to keep voice text to speech, keeps telling you to improve. So
The problem statement that I was working on in Smart India Hackathon was they expected us to build an IoT based real time monitoring system. So the issue that we have in these warehouses is that if you're not monitoring the climatic conditions, your stored commodity that might deteriorate. So that was just the initial part of it, real-time monitoring of the temperature, of the moisture, of the light intensity. Then we moved ahead onto using machine learning and determining the health of our commodity. So that's where we added something, and then there were these some things of it is really difficult to predict the climate. So that's where we worked on our machine learning model, wherein we have to predict when that certain threshold might come up, and accordingly we have to alert the system. So that was that was a whole IoT based system wherein we have our hardware, wherein we have our web app, our mobile app, and then at the back end we have this machine learning model running, and then to integrate that model with your hardware, wherein you have to run some of the algorithms at the edge, uh, which we call as edge computing. So that was something we were working on in our problem statement, and that was it.
All right, thank you so much. So with this, we come to an end of this webinar. I would like to thank all of the three speakers for taking out the time to address everyone and sharing all the valuable insights with us. I believe it has been an amazing takeaway for the viewers as well. I would also like to thank all of our registered participants for attending the webinar. We have circulated a form in the chat box for you and hope to receive all your views regarding the event. Now I would like to request Ms. Prachi Singhal, Chair of the IEEE Student Branch MUSC, to take up the virtual platform and give the vote of thanks.
Hi everyone, thank you so much. First of all, thank you so much all the three of you for taking out time and sharing a valuable knowledge which you have experienced from past 3 to 4 years with us. So thank you so much guys. And now I would like to conclude the whole IEEE Day event with us. So we have conducted 4 to 5 events for the whole IEEE Day, and it was really amazing to see such a huge participation from, especially from the freshers. Like everyone worked really hard for each and every event, and it was really a remarkable event for all the for team IEEE. So thank you everyone for celebrating IEEE Day with us, and thank you to you all three. Thank you so much guys.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so now Ayushi, kindly turn off. Like, okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.